Yes, I think this is not a consequence of free markets. What's happening is there's transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the wealthy. This comes about because of a monetary system that we have. When you inflate a currency or destroy a currency, the middle class gets wiped out. So the people who get to use the money first, which is created by the Federal Reserve System, benefit. So the money gravitates to the banks and to Wall Street. So that's why you have more billionaires than ever before. Today, this country is in the middle of a recession for a lot of people. Michigan knows about it. Poor people know about it. The middle class knows about it. Wall Street doesn't know about it. Washington, D.C. doesn't know about it. But it's because of the monetary system and the excessive spending. As long as we live beyond our means, we are destined to live beneath our means. And we have lived beyond our means because we are financing a foreign policy that is so extravagant and beyond what we can control, as well as the spending here at home. And we're depending on the creation of money out of thin air, which is nothing more than debasement of the currency. It's counterfeit, and it is a natural, predictable consequence that you're going to have people benefit from it and other people suffer. So if you want a healthy economy, you have to study monetary theory and figure out why it is that we're suffering. And everybody doesn't suffer equally, or this wouldn't be so bad. It's always the poor people, those on retired incomes, that suffer the most. But the politicians and those who get to use the money first, like the military-industrial complex, they make a lot of money and they benefit from it.
Thank you, Congressman.
Hallelujah, preach. That, of course, is Ron Paul years ago warning us about the exact situation that we are in right now. No one listened. Well, there also is a lot of censorship. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski here of wearechange.org. And oh man, do a lot of people wish that they were listening to the warnings that he was giving us, as of course we are facing a major financial mess ahead of us. This with the latest passage of yet another government spending bill, which you won't believe the provisions that are inside of there, as it was just announced moments ago that the United States is also just sending $4.5 billion to Ukraine. This as their some bombshell reports from CBS News and Amnesty International that are very eye-opening that we're going to be talking about in this independent media broadcast. So much news, we're just going to jump right into it. As of course, the financial problems and woes that the majority of Americans, specifically the poorest people in this country, are facing is because the government printed money out of thin air and inflated the currency. What's the government's solution to the current problem of the poorest people in our society suffering the most? Well, printing more money and spending it. Almost as if this was some kind of deliberate, cruel joke on hardworking Americans, as Senate Democrats, along with Kamala Harris, pushed through the Inflation Reduction Act, a term of the exact opposite of what this bill is going to be doing. Just like the Patriot Act, that is costing the American people over $700 billion. The bill passed with a cackle by Kamala Harris.
As amended is passed.
The bill was pushed through the Senate with 50-50 votes on it by the Democrats and Republicans. A bill that many people are reporting is going to be wreaking havoc on the American people. Now, one thing that stands out about this particular bill is that it has received wide support by nefarious billionaire individuals like Bill Gates, who even wrote opinion guest essays on the New York Times, specifically detailing how this bill is, quote, on the verge of a remarkable moment for Congress and the country, when many financial experts see it absolutely destroying it. Now, Bill Gates and his PR team and his hundreds of millions of dollars invested into the corporate media pushed this bill, all under the disguise of helping the climate. Now, why is this shady businessman that has been known as a cutthroat, ruthless corporate head cheering on this bill? Well, obviously, he is invested in many of the aspects of the bill, which will be subsidizing his own personal investments. Bill Gates right now is even a part of a startup using robots to build enormous solar farms. He has his hands in many projects creating GMO mosquitoes, projects that would try to block out the sun. All, of course, basically pushing his notion that there's somehow too many people in this world and that we need to reduce that number drastically. An assertion that is not based on scientific data, especially with all the latest findings showing that we're dealing with a larger population crash, which will lead to some very serious challenges to our current civilization civilization. But according to Bill Gates, no. We need to do everything we can to invest in his businesses because he knows what's best for the planet. A naive, egotistical, godlike, delusional kind of thinking that I think has been perfectly called out by Whitney Webb when she said, quote, "If you're going to trust billionaires and bankers who have created the environmental crisis to design a brand new economic system because you think they care about the environment, you might as well hand them your brain in the bag." This says a lot of people who are saying our government is incompetent, corrupted, bought off by corporations are also the same ones cheering on this bill, thinking that somehow if we give them our money, they'll be able to fix the weather. And you have to be very naive in order to believe that. This, as we have to ask the question, who's going to be paying for this $700 billion bill, this $1 trillion spending package? Well, it's you. As of course many people don't realize, you're stuck with the bill and no one else is. Whether it's through inflation or new taxes or the prices going up everywhere else, you are going to be paying for this one way or another, as of course through this bill, the federal government would make the IRS amongst the largest government agencies in existence. According to some assessments, this bill has made the IRS larger than the Pentagon, the State Department, the FBI, the Border Patrol, as they're planning on adding on 87,000 new IRS agents, which of course will cost over $80 billion. And again, the corporate PR media talking points is that this is only going after the rich, and that absolutely doesn't make any sense. In the United States, according to Matt Agrist, there are 90,000 people who make over $50 million. With an additional 87,000 new IRS agents, that would mean that the IRS would assign 2 IRS agents to every, quote, wealthy person in the United States, which again is absolutely nonsensical. And as Raheem Kassan puts it, they just used your taxes to increase your taxes so they could hire 87,000 IRS agents to rifle further through your taxes in case you owe more taxes. Quote, "It's a kleptocracy," and I would absolutely have to agree with him, as of course you are being robbed, you are being stolen from, you are being bamboozled and screwed over more than ever. Bill Gates gets what he wants, gets investment, gets money from you. What do you get for it? Literally robbed. And this is why, one of the many reasons I created LukeUncensored.com, talking about a lot of different strategies, talking about a lot of different economic financial news with new videos almost every single day, only available for members of LukeUncensored.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? I am still going through an AMA where members get to ask me anything. Lots of questions here, lots of members that you could exchange information with, get to meet, find in your local area. We also have a specific section of the forum where people get to find each other in their local communities and their neighborhoods. Lots of personal development also going on here. Lots of things to get into. We're going to be getting into that, as well as some hot button topics that of course we cannot discuss here on this particular platform. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all later on today on a brand new spanking video on LukeUncensored.com. Click the link down in the description below right now to sign up and become a member of our Uncensored platform and watch the next video right after this one. As of course, we're still not done. There's an entire conflict happening in the world right now, and no, I'm not talking about Chicago, where 53 people were shot over this weekend, but of course I'm talking about the larger proxy conflict between the United States and Russia unfolding right now in Ukraine, as the United States, dealing with massive inflation, said, hey, we're not only going to spend your money giving it to Bill Gates, some of the richest people in this entire world, we're also going to give it to the military-industrial complex to the tune of $4.5 billion, which is set to be allocated and added to the additional large sum of money given to Ukraine, specifically for aid, assistance, weapons, which CBS News just reported a couple days ago that only 30% of the aid was actually getting to Ukraine, getting to the soldiers there. They have since, by the way, we reported on this yesterday, they have since retracted that, deleted their documentary, and have retracted that statement, as of course it was met with outrage from the Ukrainians. And again, their claim that only 30% of military aid was actually arriving to Ukrainians was a legitimate claim made by individuals on the ground there, seeing the shipments coming in and out, seeing the large level of corruption inside of Ukraine, as of course Ukraine is known for having some absolutely corrupted politicians, as of course many of them were caught with major suitcases filled with money getting across the border. There's also been a lot of evidence, photos, and videos of U.S. weaponry getting shipped out of Ukraine being sold on the black market, as of course there's legitimate intel reports highlighting how there's javelins right now on the black market in Europe, as well as a lot of other advanced weaponry, and there is an overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence highlighting that this claim that 70% of this military aid is not received to the Ukrainian soldiers, there's legitimate reason to believe this. But CBS retracted that statement after the Ukrainian government told them to get rid of it. They did. Did the Ukrainian government provide any kind of evidence, videos, and photos? Not that I've seen, and I bet probably CBS News didn't see as well. That's just my own personal assertions and guess here, as of course there was other U.S. government reports specifically highlighting this danger. U.S. Senator Rand Paul has been bringing this up a lot, and I think we should get to the bottom of this question, since of course this is going to be impacting not just Ukraine, not just the soldiers on the front line there, but also the people of Europe. And if people truly did care about the people of Ukraine, if people truly did care about the soldiers on the front lines there, like they pretend to do, just like they changed their profile picture, making it more about them than the actual situation that's happening there. If they actually did care, there would be some accountability, there would be some transparency, there would be some major calls to figure this larger problem out, to solve it. But so far, the only thing we got is censorship by CBS News. This as the conflict there rages on, and Russia has even expanded and continued their military operations inside of Syria. And as the conflict rages on, and as Russians still control a large swath of Ukraine, we have to understand here that what we're seeing is, in my opinion, just an absolute mess of a situation where there should be more accountability, more transparency, more oversight, more understanding what you're doing, and not just dropping off arms into Europe and then saying, oh, oopsie, it's not our problem, it's the weapons problem. Again, what's happening there is absolutely bewildering, it's absolutely crazy, and it's absolutely sad and terrifying that many people's faith, that many people's lives is in the hand of politicians that in many instances only really care about themselves and no one else. This conflict is dangerous for everyone involved. There should be a lot of de-escalation efforts. There should be some negotiations. There should be some peace deals at least offered, at least considered, and there's none of that. There's only the escalation, with many military analysts even suggesting that the United States is arming the Ukrainians just to the point of prolonging this conflict rather than, of course, having a decisive victory in this particular proxy war between the United States and Russia. Again, lots of crazy stuff is happening all over the world. It's only going to get crazier from here. Stay tuned, stay alert, fasten your seatbelts and your boots. It's going to be crazy. See you later on after this on LukeUncensored.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching and sharing these videos, and because you do, I'm still here, and this is why. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.